For its size, this is the most powerful flashlight in the world. This is the T4K from Nitecore.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Hi, my name is Jonathan. Welcome back to the channel. This is the T4K. It comes boxed like this, really substantial packaging, nicely designed, and would make a great gift. Let's have a look at what's inside. So there's some reference here to this being the world's smallest and lightest 4,000 lumen flashlight. Here it is sat in the packaging. There's some instructions and some general information. Underneath the flashlight we have a keyring, and also we have a USB-A to USB-C cable. Okay, so the flashlight itself is fairly small. Size is important here, so let's have a look at the dimensions. We have something here that's 82 millimeters in length, including this lanyard stroke key ring clip here. It's 29 millimeters across the width and 30 millimeters in terms of the height, if that's the right word to describe that dimension, and that includes the deep carry pocket clip depth as well. So what about the weight? Well, let's have a look at that. According to these scales, 78 grams. In terms of first impressions, it feels really well made. It's a anodized aluminium body. It has two buttons here, a on-off button and a mode button, which we'll get into shortly. It has a screen here, which is really interesting. You'll see it has a quad array of LEDs here. These LEDs are some of Cree's highest performing, high density discrete LEDs. We have here a wide deep carry pocket clip or belt clip, which feels really substantial. And we have here a keyring or lanyard attachment which can be removed. And you'll see here we have a USB-C charging socket. It's great to see USB-C replacing micro USB, a much more substantial and reliable socket. And that is pretty much it. It feels really nice in the hand. Nitecore described this as thumb size. Well, you need a pretty big thumb to get away with that, but it is pretty small. Nitecore also classed this as a keyring flashlight, and as you can see, it's quite big for a keyring. I don't see many people carrying this on their keys, but it allows them to talk about having the world's most powerful keyring flashlight. Nevertheless, it is compact. It's quite a nice form factor with it being square in the hand. Feels really substantial with it being made out of metal, and all in all a really good first impression from Nitecore on this flashlight. I've had a chance to play with this over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I've come to the conclusion that if you think of this as a very high quality 200 lumen flashlight with a superpower, which is this amazing 4,000 lumen burst mode, then you will be impressed with this flashlight. On the other hand, if you think of it as a 4,000 lumen flashlight that you want to use for a prolonged period at that light level, you will be disappointed, because that super bright mode, that turbo mode, only lasts in bursts of 10 seconds. And that's not a bad thing. I think to have that level of brightness in a flashlight of this size is a huge achievement. The reality is that when you're talking about something this size powered at 4,000 lumens, you have two challenges. One is the size of the battery, which is limited by the size of the flashlight. Obviously, there's a limit to how long a battery in here, which is 1,000 milliamp hour in this case, can power that intensity of light at 4,000 lumens. The other issue relates to the physics of heat buildup. When you've got a flashlight of this size with that much power, you've got to find a way of dissipating the heat. These LEDs get super hot, and Nitecore have done as much as they can to dissipate the heat. There's a circuit board here that's made of copper that is 3 millimeters thick, which is super thick to transfer the heat. The body itself is metal. Underneath the pocket clip we have a heat sink, but there's a limit to what you can do with that amount of power. being dissipated across a relatively small form factor. Okay, let's have a look at the light levels, the battery life, and this screen. So you turn it on with a single press of the on-off button here, and you'll see immediately on the screen we have some information here that tells you how long it will run for at the current setting, which is 1 lumen. And you can see here that it's going to be 67 hours at that light setting. 1 lumen is a super low light level, but having said that, it's really usable, often referred to as a firefly mode. This is the sort of light level that you would use if you wanted to get around without disturbing anyone. Then the next level, which is 15 lumens, and that will run for 21 hours consistently from a full charge. Then we have 65 lumens, which will run for 7 hours. And then we have its highest kind of standard brightness level, which is 200 lumens, and that will last on a full charge 2 hours and 45 minutes according to the screen. You then press the on-off button to turn it off. So very simple to use. It remembers the last setting, so it was at 200 lumens, it's come back on at that, and then you can cycle through from 1, 15, 65 and 200, and then it goes back to 1 again. If on the other hand you wanted to go straight into the firefly mode, if you press and hold the on-off button, it comes on at the 1 lumen, which is really great, because if you have people around you and you don't want to disturb them, or you don't want to disturb your night vision, you can go straight to 1 lumen. You can go straight to the last used setting, and then you've got this amazing 4000 lumen setting, which can be accessed by pressing and holding the mode button like this. And this is a blinding level of light. It illuminates everything around you and turns night into day, but it only lasts for 10 seconds and then it switches off and goes back to the 200 lumen mode. And as mentioned, that is to protect the LEDs and the circuitry and also the battery life. And just having it on turbo for 10 seconds has warmed it up quite significantly. If I then want to go back into turbo again, I press it again, and you can see, I can feel the heat from this, by the way, it's really, really hot. You can see a bar graph there going down to effectively warn you that you only have a limited amount of time using turbo. And if I keep going back into the turbo mode, you'll notice that bar graph then starts a little bit lower down and cuts off more quickly. And this is to stop you just continually pressing the button to keep it at that 4000 level, in which case you would damage this. This is now really quite warm, and you would also damage the battery life quite significantly. So simple to use, simple to understand, and this screen I think is a real bonus. You can actually just single press the mode button when it's switched off and the screen will tell you the current battery life. So that's useful to know if you just want to pick the flashlight up and make sure the battery's not exhausted. Maybe somebody's been using it and you're not aware of that. You can just press that button and instantly know you've got a full charge or not. The beam distance, according to the information, for 1 lumen is 3 meters, and for 15 lumen it goes to 13 meters, and then for the 65 lumen we're looking at 24 meters, and then the 200 lumen we're looking at 45 meters, and then for the turbo 4K mode you're looking at 209 meters. Not a long throw for that high brightness mode. You can see why with the quad array here. You don't have one big reflector, you have 4 small reflectors. So this is very much a floodlight, not a long beam flashlight. I have to say I really like the screen on this flashlight. It's an OLED screen, stands for Organic Light Emitting Diode, which basically means it's very clear and uses very little power. Imagine, for example, you find yourself caught out on a walk and it's night time and you realize it's going to take you 4 hours to get home in the dark. So you can be in a situation without starlight or moonlight when you literally can't see your hand in front of your face. when you've got a screen like this on the flashlight, you can pick your light level to make sure that you've got enough light to get you home all right. So for example, in this case, if I had 4 hours to go, I can see this flashlight is only good for 2 hours and 45 minutes at 200 lumens. However, if I go to 65 lumens, I've got 7 hours. So I could put it on 65 lumens. That's going to be plenty to allow me to see where I'm going. I can still use the unbelievable turbo mode if I want to illuminate the whole area, just to really clarify what's around me, and then go back to the 65 lumen mode to see me through, and I can be pretty sure I'm going to get home without exhausting that battery. So I really like the peace of mind and the reassurance that comes from having a screen like that. Now I've used it on this one, it's going to make me wish that it was on my other flashlights. For reassurance, peace of mind, for practical use, I really like the screen on here. And then just to finish through the modes on this flashlight, there's a couple of things I've not yet mentioned. One is when it comes shipped out the box, it is in a mode called demo mode. You press the two buttons to switch between demo and what they call daily mode. What demo mode means is that if you switch the flashlight on and don't press any buttons for 30 seconds, then it will switch off by itself. And you can perhaps see here, it is counting down from 30 seconds, and when we get to 0, the flashlight will switch off. For those situations where it might be on display in a shop, somebody picks it up, turns it on and then leaves it on, it will switch off itself. Bit of an odd thing, I think, to have on this, and as soon as you get it, you just double press these buttons and it switches it into daily mode, which means when you switch it on, it stays on until you switch it off, which is what you would expect it to do. Then the other feature is really useful, and that is the lockout feature. It's really important to be able to lock out a flashlight so it doesn't switch on in your pocket, leave it on and get really hot. It's not going to get really hot in the 4K mode because that will automatically switch off after 10 seconds anyway. And if it's left on at 200 lumens, it just gets warm in your pocket. So it's not super serious. With some flashlights it is, that run for longer levels at a high brightness. But nevertheless, they've addressed it here really well. When the flashlight is on, if you press and hold the on-off button, you see a lock symbol. And that's how you put it in either lock level 1 or lock level 2. So what's the difference? Well, in lock level 2, which we're in at the moment, if you press the buttons, nothing happens other than a reminder that you're in lock level 2. So if you want to put this in your bag and be absolutely sure something pressing on the buttons is not going to turn it on, lock level 2 is what you want. In terms of lock level 1, that locks out the buttons apart from 1, and that is the mode button to switch on the 4K. We're now in lock level 1. If I press the mode button, 4K comes on. If it was in your bag and something was pressing hard against it, it would come on and it would start to heat up, but it would switch off after 10 seconds. In lock level 1, it basically means you're not going to press the buttons accidentally to bring the flashlight on for a long period of time, but you have got access to this super bright mode when you need it, like that. To get it out of either of the lock modes, you simply press the on button twice and hold it on the second press, and then there's a brief countdown and then it switches on. In terms of carrying it, you've got two options. You've got this belt clip stroke pocket clip, and you've got this attachment here, which is for a lanyard or a key ring. I'm more likely to use maybe a small split ring and then put it onto some paracord. Once you got it attached, again, you don't need to remove the split ring to get it off. You just press here. You need a thumbnail really in order to get this to come off, but when you press it firmly, it does, and I'm sure that will be useful for a lot of people. According to the information, that will take a 30 kilogram pull before it breaks, so there's no danger of that really coming off. For me, the belt clip is really the way I would choose to carry it. Not only necessarily on a belt, this is perfect for molly webbing. If you've got molly webbing on a pack, this fits perfectly into there. Or if you want to carry it on your belt, then it's super easy to do that as well. It fits really nicely. So what I would probably do is have it on a belt and maybe some paracord coming off it to a clip on perhaps a belt loop. So I've got it there if I need it in a hurry, maybe as a backup light, and at the same time I'm not going to lose it if it drops off, which it's unlikely to do. This belt's probably 3mm thick and it fits really well on there. In terms of pocket carry, on the outside of the pocket, kind of fine if you want easy access to it. On the inside of the pocket, not so good, because you've got this square form factor where it's kind of 30mm square. It does create quite a lump in your pocket, so that wouldn't be my preferred way of carrying it, although some people might want to do that. One of the other benefits of this short form factor and this type of clip is that you can make it into a headlight if you have a baseball cap. And I did this very recently when I got off a boat on holiday to ride a bike and suddenly realized it was totally dark. I got my timings wrong. I haven't even thought about the time, and I needed to ride 2 or 3 miles in total pitch black, and this is what saved the day for me. So you can imagine a full-size flashlight, obviously you wouldn't be able to fit that to a baseball hat, and this sort of clip, the strength of this clip and the positioning of it means that this can become a head torch using a baseball hat. And at 200 lumen settings it was fine lighting the road ahead. USB-C option is really nice to have. If you get a cable with it, that is USB-C to USB-A, and that means you could charge it from a mains adapter or a power bank. When you plug it in and it starts charging, you'll notice the screen shows you the voltage level, and also the 2 buttons flash blue as well, so you know it's charging. And when it's fully charged, these buttons go solid blue. One of the good things about this flashlight is you can actually charge it and use it at the same time. The battery in here is 1000 milliamp hour, and so now you've got, in this case, which is a 5000 milliamp hour power bank, you've now got 5 times the duration. So the IPX rating on this is IPX4, which is not brilliant. It means it can be sprayed with water or splashed. It certainly can't be dunked, so you need to be aware of that. You'll notice the USB-C socket is open. Not the end of the world, but it does leave it susceptible to dirt and grime and obviously water getting in there, so you need to be a little bit careful. Okay, let's have a look at the flashlight in action at night. So here we have the flashlight at 1 lumen, and then we can step it up to 15 lumens. This is what 65 lumens looks like, and this is what 200 lumens looks like. So 200 lumens is very usable for relatively close range. If you are out walking, for example, then it allows you to see your way perfectly adequately. And this is 4000 lumens. So a massive difference. This is a really impressive light level for such a small flashlight. And then just to run a couple of comparisons, this is the Rovivon A28 at 700 lumens. This is the Phoenix TK16 tactical flashlight at 3100 lumens. And then again, this is the Nitecore at 4000 lumens. There is also the question of price. In the UK at the moment, this retails for around £80, which includes tax. So this is not what you would call a cheap option, but for me it's worth it. I think it's unique in its way. There's nothing of this size that delivers that power output, albeit even for 10 seconds at a time. So that in itself could justify that price tag. I really like the form factor The size, the shape, I think works really well. This pocket clip is particularly good. The lanyard clip I will use to stop me losing it. I like the fact that the light level's practical. 200 lumens is fine for most applications, for most people. And I like the 1 lumen as well, and the fact that you can get to it with a single button press. Clearly the 4000 lumen mode is a game changer in this size of flashlight, and it's really nice to think you've got that amount of power in your hand to turn night into day, albeit for a brief period when you need to. All topped off with this great OLED screen. Even though it's not cheap, this is good value in my view. For me, definitely a keeper. I should also say that whilst this video is not sponsored, I did reach out to Nitecore to ask them if they would send me a T4K for review, which they were kind enough to do. So there you have it. I hope you found that useful. Please subscribe if that's what you would like to do. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.